All right, it is 4:30. We'll start with our Pledge of Allegiance and followed by our invocation by Councilman Chad Mincer. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow with me. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, thanks for a beautiful day. Thank you for letting us all gather as a community, Lord. Continue to bless us tonight as we make decisions on behalf of all citizens of Madisonville, and continue to bless us as a community. Continue to be with us in His name. In His name we pray. Amen.
Kim, can we have a roll call?
Yes, sir. Misty Cavanaugh. Here. Tony Space.
Here.
Adam Townsend.
Here.
Larry Nosinger.
Here.
Frank Stevenson.
Here.
Chad Mincer.
Here.
Mayor, we do have a quorum.
All right, our first order of business is to approve the minutes of the August 21st, 2023 meeting.
The August 21st, 2023 meeting was held in the City Council chambers at 4:30 p.m. and it was called to order by Mayor Kevin Cotton. We had the pledge and invocation by Councilmember Frank Stevenson. The mayor and all council members were present for the meeting. We had approval of the minutes of August the 7th, 2023. We also had department reports. We had fire department report, police department report. We had discussions related to council committees. Approval of a change order for the West Knoll Interceptor project was approved. We had second reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 156 of the zoning ordinance relating to residential uses, commercial, industrial, and office professional zones. That was approved. We also had an ordinance amending Chapter 156 of the City of Madisonville Code of Ordinances relating to recreational facilities and recreational vehicle parks was approved. We also had a resolution of the City of Madisonville authorizing the mayor or his designee to make application for an agreement with the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security to execute documents for a cybersecurity grant program. And we had an adoption of the 2023 updates for the Personnel Policy and Employee Handbook. We had a request for a street closure. We had a utility connection for water, and we had a recognition, and then we had an adjournment.
Are there any corrections to the minutes? If not, do I have a motion to approve?
Move.
Have a second? Have a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next, we'll move on to the approval of bills and payroll.
We have the total general fund of $321,235.16, total sanitation of $37,723.45, total electric utility of $289,910.37, total water filter of $119,159.42, total wastewater collection and treatment of $106,638.15. We also had a biweekly payroll. Governmental is $51,235, police $152,527, fire $147,900, transportation of $29,924, cemetery of $4,794, park $22,097, sanitation of $48,184, light fund of $92,039, wastewater treatment of $20,645, wastewater collection of $33,556, water and filter of $53,232 for a total estimated biweekly payroll of $656,132.
Do I have a motion to approve the bills and payroll?
Move.
Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next, we have a department report in your packet. You'll see a business license report for the month of August. And if you don't have any questions about that, we will move on to new business. The first being a first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 96 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Madisonville relating to property tax.
Yes, I'll only read the changes. If you'll go down to section 96.05, the due and delinquency dates. The taxes will be due and payable on or before November the 30th, 2023. There will be a discount of 2% if the taxes are paid on before October the 31st, 2023. The bills remaining unpaid after November 30th, 2023 shall be declared delinquent and shall bear interest at a rate of 12% until paid. And then if you go over to the section 96.08, the ad valorem tax rates for 2023, the tax rate for real estate shall be 0.120 for each $100 of assessed valuation. And then on number C, or I'm sorry, letter C, the tax rate for other tangible personal property shall be .1549 for each $100 of assessed valuation.
So you can see that on the real estate, it drops from .122 to .120. And then under C, the tangible personal property tax goes from .1657 to .1549, so a decrease in both of those. You also should have in your packet the estimated revenue for each year, 2019, 20, 21, 22, and 23, which shows that allows us to keep or decrease the rate and be able to stay relatively level with our revenue. So if you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer those. Diana will be available this week if you have any questions for her. Next, we'll move on to the resolutions to accept bid for Lake Pee Wee Water Treatment Plant.
Whereas the city of Madisonville opened bids for the Lake Pee Wee Water Treatment Plant flocculators equipment procurement on August the 23rd, 2023 at 2:00 p.m. And whereas the city of Madisonville received one bid, it was from EnviroPax of $100,145. Whereas EnviroPax placed a bid of $100,145 and was the best bid, the only bid received. Now therefore be it resolved that the city council accepts the bid from EnviroPax in the amount of $100,145.
Do I have a motion to accept the bid to EnviroPax in the amount of $100,145?
So move.
A second? Have a motion and a second. Any questions?
This was budgeted.
It's a budgeted item and it comes in 10,000 below what was budgeted.
We just not have many bidders, or is it just?
Probably proprietary to, but that was the only bid. It went out for bid,
Days or?
yeah, like any other bid that we put out. But to come in under budget, that's a win. We'll take that one.
Especially these days.
Yeah. So we have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next, we have municipal order.
Yes, this is a municipal order relating to the reappointment of Tiffany Jones to the Housing Authority Board. That Tiffany Jones shall be and hereby is reappointed to the Housing Authority Board, that the term of Tiffany Jones shall be for 4 years ending on September 1st, 2027, and that Tiffany Jones shall serve in accordance with the laws of the United States of America and the Commonwealth of Kentucky and the ordinances of the city of Madisonville. And this order shall become effective September the 5th, 2023.
All right, do I have a motion to reappoint Tiffany Jones to the Housing Authority Board? Do I have a second? Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next, we have an executive order.
This order is for the reappointments of Tim Morgan and Michael Jones to the Airport Board, that Kevin Cotton, Mayor of the City of Madisonville, pursuant to the authority vested in him by applicable law, does hereby order as follows: that Tim Morgan and Michael Jones are hereby reappointed to the Airport Board, and that the terms of Tim Morgan and Michael Jones shall be for a period of four years concluding on September 1st, 2027, and that Tim Morgan and Michael Jones shall serve in accordance with the laws of the United States of America and the Commonwealth of Kentucky and the ordinances of the City of Madisonville.
And talking with the board chair, the airport board chair, Jimmy Riddle, and speaking with both Tim Morgan and Michael Jones, all agreed to continue to serve in their capacity. All right, at this time, I think we have some public comment. I'll let Joe kind of go over what that looks like and what the time frame on that looks like. 3 minutes?
It's 3
3
minutes.
minutes, yeah.
I'm sorry. I haven't told you about that.
Oh,
No.
that we're
We have some
having.
public comments.
Yeah, and don't exceed 3 minutes.
Don't exceed 3 minutes. So we'll let, Jennifer has a list. We'll let her call you up. If you'll give us your name and your address, please.
Stephen Tucker.
If you can, try to speak into the microphone. It's kind of not placed great there, but
I can crouch. Thank you, City Council members, Mayor. My name is Stephen Tucker. I live at 219 Barnett Boulevard. I come to give a comment about some construction work or some earth moving work that's been happening behind the neighborhood where the old Red Cardinal Inn used to be. The property owner there is bulldozing, making slopes, creating a road back there that is draining water into our properties. I've talked to the city engineer. I've talked to zoning and planning. He does not have a permit for any of the work he's doing. And I talked to him, and he's planning on moving it all the way out behind all of the houses that are on Barnett Boulevard, which my concern now is not only our properties becoming damaged from water damage, but that's going to flow into the high school as well, which will cause more problems and maybe even require the city to be involved in remediating that water damage. So I wanted to come get my voice on record. I know that my neighbors are here as well. We all want to talk about this and make sure that this gets correctly done, or he gets stopped so that there is no damage. There's also the concern that he's tore down all the trees there between our property lines. So now what we see is a whole bunch of like 400 semi-containers that are parked in high-density residential zone and not in a commercial lot because he's selling the lot space to Berry Plastic. I found that out after talking to him as why they're there and stuff like that. So that was my comment that I wanted to get on record, and I appreciate your time.
thank you very much.
Jackie Payton.
My name's Jackie Payton. I live at 201 Barnett Boulevard, and I want to bring up the same concern. I've been living there for about 17 years. I've worked in Madisonville since 1994. I worked at the old Carhart facility on 41 and fell in love with this county, so I moved from Muhlenberg County here and been investing all of my time in our homes. And luckily, we've been blessed by God. We just paid our house off, but now then we see all this construction, all this, and I have real concern that not only I'm a victim of flooding. I have the video evidence to prove it. My yard was a lake twice this year due to moving of earth all summer long by Jackie French and his landowner. So they did, to them, correct the issue and stop the flooding of my land. But I'm just also now concerned that I put all this 17 years of investment in my property. Now my property value is going to drop because when you go to sell your house, they're going to look at construction zones, trailers, all of this. Well, now it's trees. So far, I haven't been impacted with this, but he's 2 houses away. So I kind of wanted to bring up that. And, you know, if you're interested, if anybody's interested in seeing the video of the aftermath of what's going on and the destruction of the flooding, because that area does have some pretty bad flooding during heavy rains. North Haven's been notorious for that. You know, it's something we live with. But when it's coming from the front and the back, it's kind of hard to maintain a viable property and live happily and peacefully as the Madisonville, I can't even talk, sorry. I'm nervous, sorry. But as the Madisonville residents that we want to be. I mean, that's our oasis. So when we go in our backyard, we've been fixing our backyard up for years so we can go away and get away from work and all this. And now when we sit in our backyard, we're getting ready to see who knows what in a road in our backyard with looking at trailers. So I just want to get my name on the record as well. Of this, you know, and I'm a pro-business guy. I mean, I work for a company. We're looking to make money, but it should be a win-win situation for both the company and the residents that live there. And a good compromise and making sure that it doesn't devalue our property and it doesn't flood us out is, you know, what I'm really looking for is make sure that, you know, I can have my piece of America right here in Madisonville and, you know, live a happy life being in this city. And so, you know, that's pretty much what all I needed to say. But, you know, I just hope everything gets looked at and done correctly, because with all of this being done without licensing, without consideration to the residents, is highly concerning to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sandra Moore.
My name's Sandra Moore. I live at 150 North Haven Drive. I'm on the corner of North Haven and Barnett. I've lived there 49 years, people. There's a 12 to 15 foot, possibly higher, wall of mud behind our homes. There's 3 huge earth-moving machines that have done that. They're still there. We were told that there was going to be a ditch to carry off the runoff. There's a road being put in. I want to know what can be done to protect our homes from the washout and the fallout that's going to happen when we have a heavy rain. There's roots, all kinds of construction debris. It's all exposed, and it's coming down on us the first time we have a hard rain. The rain that we had that Stephen talked about earlier was about 3 weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks ago. I've got a 2-year-old air conditioner, and along with some other folks that have relatively new units, and the mud was in my air conditioner. That's not right that one person can destroy our property, and I think we need a retaining wall. I think we should have privacy between us and those storage units. I hope and pray to God that these people in this room will do something to see that we're done correctly and right and fair. That's what I'm asking of you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew Holmes.
I'm Andrew Holmes, 154 North Haven Drive, next door to everybody. I'm here for the same thing. They've all said it so well, I'll just show you some pictures if you want to see it. That's why I'm here. Mud, my air conditioner, the same thing everybody else is talking about. Anybody want to see the pictures?
If you want to drop them right there, Adam, you can just kind of pass them around, and then we'll end up with them over here at Larry. Thank you, and we'll get those back to you before you leave.
Sir, what was your address? What was his address?
54.
154, okay.
Okay.
Next one is Chris Wheeler.
Mr. Mayor, Council, appreciate you giving me an opportunity to speak here. My name's Chris Wheeler. I live at 166 North Haven Drive. Like the rest of my neighbors, I'm a relatively newcomer. I've only been there 13 years. But just to reiterate what some of my neighbors have said, you know, we've battled the water coming down North Haven for years. I've spoken to the city engineer multiple times. And what was commented back to me was, well, when the subdivision was built by Mr. French years ago, the proper drainage wasn't put in then, and there's nothing really the city can do. So I was like, okay, we've got to live with the water. But now, like our neighbors have said, we're going to have the water on the backside. I've got a 4-foot chain link fence in my backyard, and the road that they're putting in, or what appears to be a road, is above my chain link fence. At the bottom of my chain link fence, I was told by the zoning commission they're going to put in a silt screen. Well, the silt screen is 12 inches tall. That's not going to do anything for the wall of dirt and mud that's going to come down. I have a little bit more of a unique situation with Mr. French himself, in that the house just to the south of me, and I don't know the exact address off my top of my head, is owned by Mr. French. The people that live there, I believe, rent from him. Several years ago, I wanted to double my driveway, and through my neighbor spoke to Mr. French, saying, hey, if I pay for the gravel with the section, can I just gravel all of it and give us both extra parking spots? And he didn't want me to do that. So I respected his wishes, and I graveled to my property line. However, with all of this, none of the neighborhood was consulted. We've all got damage. I've got my chain link fence pushed in. It's not drastic. It's not near as bad as some of the others. I've got wood and limbs on top of one of my little outbuildings from where they jerked the trees down. And like everybody else has said, I've got a nice view of a mud hill that when we get these fall rains is going to be bad. and a bunch of storage trailers. So again, I'm concerned as well about property values. You know, I've done well. I've invested a bunch in my home in hopes I want to stay here. You know, I've lived here since 2000, love the community, love the area, but and I'm a pro-business guy as well. So I respect Mr. French's rights. It's his property, but his rights stop where mine start. So my property has to be taken into account too. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our final speaker is David Baker.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for allowing us to come up here and speak. My name is David Baker. I live at 207 Barnett Boulevard. My wife and I moved in there about 35 years ago, and within a couple of years, immediately had problems with Mr. French. At the end of the day, his cement trucks that had cement left in them, he would come and literally just dump on the hill behind my home, to the point where I had a thin layer of concrete over my entire backyard. Called the city. I called, of course, you weren't mayor at that point. I called everybody under the sun. Of course, we were young, ill-informed, didn't have a lot of money, so wasn't a whole lot we could do. Eventually, he decided to put hay bales up on the edge of my property to stop the concrete from running into my yard, which again was unacceptable. Moving on to now, for years, he also took big chunks of concrete that he had dug up somewhere it didn't need and dumped them on that hill. So when we'd had a nice field behind our home for the last 30 years, my wife and I have been looking at a hill full of big chunks of concrete, and where concrete has just literally been poured onto that hill. Fortunately, during the summertime, things grow up green. It's been long enough, it'll all turn green up there for the most part, but in the winter it looks awful. And now, as you look beyond our backyards, you see literally cliffs of mud, to where a good rain and the concrete he's poured is going to start caving in as well. I don't know what on earth he's thinking, but it's always been with zero disregard. We fought him tooth and nail. We were up there every morning arguing with him years ago, and nothing. We could get no cooperation from him at all. And now, you know, a little older, a little wiser, and it's time for Mr. French to be held accountable. And what he's doing to our property is completely unacceptable. So I would appreciate any support you guys can give us. That's it. That's all I've got. But I wish somebody come take a look, because I think you'd be horrified by what we're seeing out our patio doors at this point. It's trees laying down that he's knocked down. Of course, all the mud. He's dug some kind of really deep hole in the very edge behind my house, just beyond my property line. I don't know what, but chances are a whole lot of water is going to collect there. And we have enough mosquitoes out front with all the water that collects out there, because we collect water for the entire neighborhood, right through, you know, our road on Barnett Boulevard. That's okay. It handles it. Never has been a problem for us. However, holding water behind our home is also, you know, that's the last thing I need are more mosquitoes, because they seem to like me, and I don't really want to endure that. So any help y'all can give us, we would greatly appreciate. If there's anything we can do on our end, I'd love some advice.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to hear from our city engineer, who has in fact taken some of the complaints and then worked through that process. So we'll let Lincoln Fugel address you all from the city side, and then we're going to hear from Duke Gaston right after we hear from Lincoln.
And council members, mayor, and everyone who's come down to voice these concerns, appreciate you coming down. Not an easy thing to respond to. It is, as you can see from the pictures that have been provided, it's a serious violation of the permitting process that we've got established in Madisonville. We've got ordinances that require this kind of work, would normally require a plan on the front end, a grading permit. Oh, sorry. Is that better? You hear me better there? Okay. This kind of work requires a grading permit on the front end, which includes a stormwater pollution prevention plan, or what we call a SWIP. It's a description of how sediment and silt's going to be kept on the property during the disturbance, how long the disturbance will be, and then what will be done ultimately to stabilize it so that this kind of thing doesn't happen. That hasn't been done on the front end, and to date, the city has issued a notice of violation to Mr. French, including a fine, and he has responded by hiring Gaston Engineering to come up with a corrective action plan to get this fixed. I've cataloged, to my knowledge, the things that the citizens that I've talked to have wanted to see fixed, including fences that need to be repaired. There's at least one utility pole back there that was damaged. And then obviously to control the sediment going forward. And all of that has been provided to Mr. Duke Gaston at Gaston Engineering so that it can be included in his plan. And then we will, as part of the inspections that we do with these stormwater protection plans, we'll follow up with each one of these items. So from our perspective, what we would like to see from this project, we'll be following up with the people doing the work. But in addition to that, if there's something that's missed, something that didn't get done or didn't get addressed, feel free to contact us up here at City Hall. Let me know. Make sure it gets addressed. Pending your questions, that's what we've got to date.
Any questions for Lincoln from the council?
Is there a current cease and desist, I assume?
He's not, well, from the date of the notice of violation, the only thing that he's been allowed to do was address imminent erosion problems, but he can't do any more improvements. He's not supposed to do any more improvements as far as developing it for what he had in mind for it.
We'll eventually have to file for the permit like original.
Yeah, and because it's a permit after the fact, it's double permit fees. That application, we've actually received it. We're reviewing, it's under review right now. There's some things that need to be added to it. But I'll let Mr. Duke Gaston address those if he would like.
Any other questions for Lincoln? Right, thanks, sir.
Start with a little bit of a joke. I've got a rule at my house that if I'm busy, I don't answer the phone, but if my wife calls 3 times, whatever I'm doing, I stop and answer it. Last Monday, I was in a meeting and the phone rang 4 times from an employee of the city, and I enacted my wife's rule. I left the meeting to answer because I knew something had to be wrong. It was building inspector, Lincoln, Debbie Todd, Mandy with Planning Commission, and they were all on the speakerphone and says, we need some help here. And so I went, I looked to see what he was doing, told him we needed to slow it all down, stop, because there's some plans that need to be done. Lincoln and I met. There was no grading permit put in. That has since been filed in the last week. As he said, they doubled some fees. Fined Mr. French. We did meet with some of the city members late last week. The plan that I put in was kind of a somewhat simplistic plan just to get the ball started because there's some things got to be worked out. I was up there last week. One of the residents saw me up there talking to Mr. French. There's going to take a little bit of planning to be done in order to get some things straightened out because it was not done correctly, and it just needs, I've been hired by Mr. French to assist him in that manner. Done things like this with Lincoln in the past. I feel like we can make the situation better. There have been a lot of trees on Mr. French that have been removed, and we can't replace that. But there are some plans in place to put some screening in so that the site is not near as bad as it is in those pictures. I will say that from those yards to where I was standing the other day, I measured it was 16 feet drop, so there are down below quite a bit. So what they're gonna be looking at, will be a revegetated hill at some point in time, which is fairly normal. But I will do the best I can do to get the situation under control. I told them that I would be more than willing to come to see what needs to be done, if they had personal damage. Lincoln sent me a couple of names and told me that a KU pole, a guy wire, had been hit, and I've contacted KU, which is going to be taking care of that very promptly. So I don't have a whole lot else. This was sprung on me last week, and it's stopped.
Any questions for Mr. Gaston? If you would like to ask that question after we adjourn, yes, that would be a conversation with Mr. Gaston and you all individually. Adam?
I have one question for Lincoln. How long was this work going? Was this work going on before it was made aware to the city?
That is a good question. I probably don't have the answer to that. I know that we issued a notice of violation just last week, but I mean, if you want to count the concrete and that kind of thing being dumped over the hill.
No, I'm talking about, I know he said that one had been going on for a while, but I was just wondering if this, like, what we're looking at now, because to me, it does look like this work had been going on for quite a bit longer than than just before a week. So I didn't know if the city had.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been approximately, probably 3 weeks to a month.
About a month.
And that may be a little off. I questioned one of the guys on a small bobcat, because right behind my property line is fenced. There was a bunch of overgrown vegetation.
It's been going on for a while.
That was back there clearing some of that out, and I questioned what he was doing. He said, oh, they just want us to clear some of this out. So that's what I think, I assume some of the other neighbors thought they were just clearing out some of the vegetation. Some of the heavier work has happened in the last 3 to 4 weeks.
His plans for that, Duke?
Thank you.
It was rezoned several years ago to be high-density residential. Debbie, correct, is Oak Hills, that's medium density, correct? And the property, this is the property that's immediately behind UPS and Red Cardinal and both, okay? The properties in front on 41 are all industrial. This was industrial. It was rezoned as like 8 years ago. I think it was 2015. It was rezoned as high-density residential, so you could put apartments back there, you could put duplexes back there, small homes. There's a lot you can do. To be honest with you, I think there's more of a demand for commercial, but I wouldn't, right now, I gotta wrap my arms around it. I don't feel like I can speak to that, to be honest with you. It's zoned high-density residential now. Like I said, you could put apartments, duplexes, a lot of stuff like that back there.
Any other questions for Mr. Gadsden? All right, thanks, sir. With that being said, we do appreciate you all coming and voicing your concerns. We appreciate you all working with Lincoln as you've had some complaints and given Lincoln the opportunity to move forward with the project. With that being said, Lincoln will continue to stay on top of that, and I know that Duke has already been hired to work on that as well. So we anticipate seeing some resolution quickly on that project. So with that being said, our last order of business, Adam.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Do you have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We do stand adjourned. Thank you.